I'm a tree hugger, I'm a nature hugger, I'm an earth hugger.
What does Chipko mean? How did it get started? And how did you get involved in it?
Chipko means to hug. My sisters in the Himalaya rose against logging in the 70s when deforestation was leading to landslides and floods. It first happened in the Alaknanda Valley. And then a woman called Gaura Devi said, no more deforestation. We will prevent the logging of our forests because these are our mothers. They protect our rivers. This movement carried on for more than a decade. I got involved because I've grown up in the forests, in the Himalayan forests, and I saw the forest disappear. I was leaving for my PhD in Canada on the foundations of quantum theory, but I visited the forests that I had trekked, streams that I had swum in. And when I saw they were gone, it became like some of my limbs had been cut off. Because for me, forests were me, and I was the forest. I took a pledge then, and I found out about the Chipko movement that every vacation of my life, I will give my time to volunteer in this beautiful movement, which is what I did till in 1981, we got a logging ban. The women taught the world that the forests are not timber mines, that the timber is not its first produce. They said these forests give us soil, water, and oxygen, and pure air. That is what we need to live. This is the reason cutting of the trees in the high Himalaya for commercial profit has been banned. Chipko woke us to the economy of nature. Chipko woke us to the functions of biodiversity. I always say I did my PhD at the University of Western Ontario in Canada on quantum theory, but I did my PhD in ecology and biodiversity, learning from women who had never been to school, but who knew everything about every stream, every river, every tree, every forest, and the relationships between soil and water and biodiversity. It's those relationships that make ecology. And Chipko is what has inspired the world because it has taught people that the destroyers can be very powerful, but you can hug. You can love nature and act in its defense.
What is the importance of the Chipko movement in India and to the global environmental struggle?
The Chipko movement became a fountainhead of contemporary environmental movements. Of course, there had been earlier Chipkos in the state of Rajasthan, where it's a desert. A tree called the khijri is treated as sacred by the Bishnois because it is very important to not allow the desert to expand. It provides for food, for fodder, and the women and the people of Rajasthan have protected it. When the king's men came to chop the khijri tree, a woman called Amrita Devi said, "You'll have to cut my head before you cut the tree." That tradition of saying, "You will have to kill me before you kill the trees," is what contemporary Chipko of the 70s continued. It is what the Chipkos everywhere in Mumbai and Delhi, in the California redwoods and the Canadian old-growth forests is taking place. Chipko became a worldwide inspiration that A, we are part of the earth. 2, the earth gives us everything we need. 3, we are not separate. And the hugging of the trees, hugging of nature, is a symbol of that unity, of that oneness with nature.
Are you a tree hugger?
I'm a tree hugger, I'm a nature hugger, I'm an earth hugger, because every time I see injustice, I will hug and protect that which is being destroyed or has been destroyed. So since 1987, when I started Navdanya, the movement for seed saving and biodiversity conservation, I have been hugging seeds. Some of the seeds that are on display here, seeds that are tolerant to salt, seeds that are able to withstand drought, withstand floods. These are the answers to climate change. So I hug nature every day of my life, not just physically in the way I live, I hug nature in my mind, that I am not separate from nature. Nature gives me everything. I'm dependent on nature, and I hug nature in my heart with deep, deep love. There is no power bigger than love, and Chipko is an action of love.
Should more people be tree huggers? And why?
I think everyone should be a tree hugger, both because without trees, we are dead. The trees give us this amazing technology. The green leaf of a tree gives us this amazing technology. It takes the free energy from the sun. It takes the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and through photosynthesis converts into carbohydrates, which are the food we eat, the fibers we use for clothing, for baskets. More importantly, it creates oxygen that we can breathe. Because the trees are there, we have oxygen. We have watched people die of oxygen during the COVID pandemic. It is time to realize that protecting the trees is protecting our lives. We are not alive without trees and without the oxygen they provide. So hug the trees. Hug the trees where you are, because we have a bit of an insanity right now that thinks that you can chop every tree, get rid of every drop of water flowing in a river, destroy all the good food that gives us nourishment and health, and somehow we will live. Life is not money. As I often say, the currency of life is life. The currency of life is not money.
What does the Chipko movement tell us about the role of women in ecology?
We have been made to believe that you go to university, you get a PhD, you become an expert, you know more. Well, I've done a PhD in quantum theory, but I learned my ecology from women of Chipko. Chipko taught us that knowledge is not only what you receive in university. Knowledge is what grows with you through living with nature, through caring for nature, through protecting nature. That oneness with nature is the highest expertise. Chipko taught us that forests are not just mines. Nature is not just for exploitation. Nature is not just raw material. Nature is what nourishes us. They shifted the worldview from that of exploitation and domination to one of partnership, care, and nurturance and protection.